Hi. So the book I'm going to talk about, the book I read for this final is called Prosperity Without Growth. It's a book from Tim Jackson, who's he has a background in sustainable development, and he's been teaching that subject for a lot of time. But his work has been directed towards understanding the economic principles of prosperity. Um, he has three very important books regarded as like must read if you want to understand sustainable development, or if you if somebody is into entrepreneurship with this sustainable approach, which is like the imperative nowadays. um, just to say some relevant facts about his long and successful career. um, okay, so the book of those three. The book I read is Prosperity Without Growth, and I actually chose that one because I want like a little bit ago I started questioning about um, how much will be enough for humanity, or like for rich people. Like I wonder, like, I don't know, billionaires, like when you already have all the money to buy, for example, I don't know, the best cars and the best houses and the best, I don't know, the best clothes and the best food in the world, like why would you want to continue generating worth and fortune, like accumulating? So this book, it kind of got me thinking, like the main the title got me thinking, uh, like how are we planning to thrive as a species if everything continues growing, like building more houses, demanding more energy, more food, more everything, and everything will be successful. But we still have a massive inequality, and resources are finite. I mean, that's something that we have to understand. So just to give a little bit of context, I grew up in a society where success is directly measured in how much money you have, how big are the things you're doing, how um, and well, my family runs, almost everyone in my family runs their own business, and almost nobody is an employee. So yeah, like for me, this question of questioning, this thing of questioning growth and success is like a little bit radical for me, um, because as I say, in my society, and yeah, and most capitalist mindset cultures, questioning growth itself is regarded as something radical or idealist. And for me, there's really no right or wrong about this concept. But in the change of paradigms we're going through, we must start to question it and see if the economic principles we've held for decades are still aligned with the challenges we face as a species. Um, relating it a little bit with the Human documentary, there's this message from Jose Mujica, the ex-president of Uruguay, um, that he says, either you learn to be happy with little, or you start losing time, because you, even though you're generating that form of that wealth, that is lifetime that you're spending to generate that. So for me, it kind of goes hand in hand with this, all of this concept of prosperity. Prosperity is defined in the book as, in a general sense, that things are going well for us. And these things are often, well, of course, they're subjective for every person, but we commonly could argue that health, family, work, all of those comprehend like a general sense of prosperity. And prosperity denotes a notion of continuity. Like we tend to think of it about the future. Like, am I? Yeah, I mean, this status that I am in my life, where I have like a house, a car, is it prosperous? Can it be held for a period of time? And to put it in economic terms, the main parameters that governments and institutions tend to rely on in order to measure prosperity are the GNP and the GDP, which is gross national product and gross domestic product. And the author, Tim, states that these are some really crude measures for people's prosperity in a country. And he means crude because, for example, GDP should grow at least equally as the population growth. And if not, prosperity is not achieved. But talking about a whole economy and a whole country, that's of course a very simplistic approach, just because of the fact of how subjective that prosperity is. And as the book goes on, he talks about like the main idea is to have a non-growing economy, which for economists is a complete no-no. But a continuous growing economy is a complete no-no for an ecologist. And in my opinion, these are two approaches often completely dissonant and disregarded by each other. For example, when in school, in the tech, they're teaching you about ecology and how we should take care of the world and the resources. We often talk about who's guilty and the big enterprises and Coca-Cola and Monsanto, and we tend to blame the human and the governments. And yeah, like they suggest you to plant trees to repair all the damage we've done to the environment, and you feel guilty and you start thinking like, what could we do better in order to save the world? But suddenly you switch a classroom and you switch a class and you're taking like entrepreneurship or something about economic or finances or accountability. And in that environment, everything is about making more clients, more money, more resources, financing. You can do it. If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. And all of this like Shark Tank mindset that completely blurs the ecological approach that we've all heard. Typical modern economists think that we can decouple the GNP growth from resource use through using more sustainable materials and more efficient, like electric cars. And it's like, okay, we're going to keep building houses everywhere, but like with less damage. But that is still a myth, because either way, we're still consuming resources, degrading the ground and building. I mean, even though we're building healthy electric cars and that drive themselves and don't pollute anything, they're still going to drive on pavement. Pavement kills the soil. I mean, that is logical. So yeah, I mean, the book like places like this questioning and starts to make these two approaches like start to get along with each other. But however, the author doesn't limit to only give a call to question the actual status, but he states some these main elements or proposals that could lead to have a non-growing economy and still be prosperous. So the first is big changes in small steps. So the current way of consuming should be slowly shifting towards a socio-ecological infrastructure based on public spaces, public transport, like car sharing, and public health services, social care facilities, and of course, energy supply from renewable and clean sources. The second is that politics don't have to be at the mercy of corporation, which is as straightforward as it sounds. Nowadays, the status quo is that whoever has the money, he runs the game. And like there's this phrase like everyone has a price. And yeah, I mean, if you have money, you can buy whoever you want and do whatever you want. So that is some really big challenge we face, and a real big concern towards shifting to a non-growing economy and still be prosperous. And the last is that the state is mutable. We need new forms of public institution which are more transparent and open to participation, organized decentrally, and that can adapt to different social contexts. Which, digging a little bit deeper in that concept, is that the state shouldn't be holding all of the power. This is a little bit like radical and like postmodernist, but yeah, I mean, governments and institutions should be more, I mean, citizens and the populations should execute their whole full power, and the government should be some sort of like a guide and be transparent about what it does. And that is what it means by decentralizing the power. So in conclusion, I really like this book and this concept because like I said, growing in this society and this concept and this context and the things we learn about nowadays, and they're all about like growth and entrepreneurship and like you can do it, yeah, all of that, that thing. But we really have to have to think about sustainability. I mean, okay, yeah, you can achieve your dreams, you can be successful, you can have money, you can be, yeah, I mean, you can be rich, but you have to start to define wealth and well-being in a different way. I mean, I think this whole idea of having like a private car and like big truck just to move one person, I mean, even though I love cars and I love like big engine cars, I hate to say this, but that's like a really old and like a boomer idea that we should completely discard, to put it like in my terms. And for example, building big houses, like this whole idea of the individual needing more and more and more and more, that is like the core of this philosophy. I mean, it doesn't fall completely into minimalism, but it's more about learning to be, well, I think the book is a little bit more directed into economic terms and like for institutions and governments to take action in this subject, is to provide this prosperity, to provide this well-being to the population, to start shifting the way of thinking. I mean, for example, here in Mexico, where, for example, in my case, or I mean, I think everyone's case that they study in Tec de Monterrey, I mean, our parents saved and worked a lot in order to give us this very good education that they hope it's gonna open us a lot of doors. But think about Sweden. Think about the documentary that is, how was it called? Where to Invade Next, where he goes to, I don't know if it was Sweden or some Nordic country, and they say like every public school would be the best one. That is what we have to think of. I mean, to start to, yeah, to head towards more about sharing, about public transport, public spaces, or public schools. But the point that I want to make is that the responsibles of providing these services should start worrying about providing good quality of life for the people. And I really like this concept because I was very worried about the future and what's going to happen. I'm still worrying about, I mean, I still know that there are very big challenges we face, but like this book and this philosophy of sharing and public, and this opens up opens up a very different opinion, and that is a future that I'm actually craving of. I mean, like if we go toward that direction of like I say, we should totally be motivated and be happy about what's going to happen. But we have to work towards that goal about growing as the whole humanity and public and sharing, and this and to take it a little bit more deep is to redefine this concept of extreme individualism that we live in nowadays.